All right. Hey, everyone. It's Investment Tuesday with me, Paul Mampilli. In case you don't know this channel, you know who I am. Well, I'm Paul, and I do this every Tuesday. And you can just, put my name into Google and you'll find out more. Or there'll be many things that I'm going to talk about in the next few minutes, which will allow you to, go to links and find out more about me and what I'm about. Today, I am going to give you three crypto coins, tokens, right? And three crypto related stocks that I think are going to be big winners in 2026. Got to remember 2026, right? 2025 has been a struggle for crypto after very high hopes at the beginning of 2025. The halving happened, 100K happened, and 2025, me and everyone else thought was going to be this enormous, glorious run. And yet, we got a lump of coal mostly. Bitcoin is trading for pretty much where it was around this time last year. So disappointment. Big time. And hey, I'll put my hands up. I thought it was going to be huge. It wasn't. Still, my instinct, my gut tells me 2026 is going to be different. And the nature of crypto analysis is that, people can say, this model. And, for a while, people thought that the stock to flow model was essentially going to be perfect. There's other models that are out there that, claim, that they can do this. And I think crypto now follows the universal model, which is what? Well, it's the model of investor behavior and market psychology, fear and greed. These are the true fundamentals. And so my picks for 2025, these are not all the picks. I've just called out three. So there's three crypto tokens, coins, whatever, and three stocks associated with that. I'll tell you what they are, why, and I'll essentially, be like, well, I think these can see all-time highs and or 52-week highs, right? Okay. All right. So let's get going by keeping the lawyers happy, which is, let's do legal disclaimers and disclosure. So this video and the content from ATG Digital is not investment or financial advice. It is presented to you as opinion, information, engagement, or entertainment. Whatever you choose to do with it, it is your responsibility because it is your money. Next, all ATG Digital content may contain errors, oversights, and mistakes. Understand that investment operations, which are buying, selling any investment, stock, option, crypto, they have significant risk and can lead to the loss of your principal. Bottom line, you could lose money. I, the owners, employees, contractors of ATG Digital, we own, trade, transact in the securities and investments that are mentioned in this video and all content from ATG Digital. We do not take money from companies or crypto token sponsors, etc., to recommend their stocks or crypto token for better and for worse, for gain and loss. We are independent, and what you get is our unique point of view. We publish a very large amount of free research. We've got the Substack, which you will see scrolling there, which comes out every market day. In other words, any day that the stock market is open. We also have the Bald Man Speculating Podcast, which is on Spotify, which generally deals with investor behavior, market psychology, and also macro. And then finally, I'm on YouTube. I'm on pretty much every Tuesday, unless, during the holidays. But generally, I don't know. I'm on most Tuesdays. Social media. I am on X. We are on Instagram and Facebook. You can check us out there. We are reasonably active on all three. You have heard me mention ATG Digital Media. Oh, no, too early on that one. Oh, yeah, I've got to mention that you can choose to become a member of this channel. The way you would do that is you would go to where it says join over here and click on it. And in exchange, you will get this Investment Tuesday video 1 day earlier than everybody else. And then on a monthly basis, you get a bonus video which focuses on a small stock or crypto token that we think has huge upside. So if you've been considering, thinking, or want something like that, yeah, join the YouTube channel. The other place you can get more of what you see here on the YouTube channel is to go get a subscription from ATG Digital, right? I keep talking about ATG Digital. You might wonder what it is. It's my company. We sell subscriptions. We have, multiple model portfolios. It's a monthly subscription. You go to atgdigital.media. Let me put that up. And yeah, that will get you all of the information that you need. All right, let me get back to the business at hand, shut down all of the previous videos, and let's get to 2026 and set the scene here, right? So in 2025, right, and the predictions for 2025 were made in 2024. Everyone expected the Bitcoin halving cycle to essentially be a repeat of the previous three, right? I mean, so around November, December of 2025, we felt like, hey, systematically, almost programmatically, Bitcoin's going to make some all-time high. It's going to be enormous. Yeah, my predictions were $1 million. Yeah, I feel, you can imagine how I feel about that right now. But hey, I wasn't alone in this. There were others. Nonetheless, all of those hopes, beliefs, predictions, forecasts were, turned out to be for nothing, because Bitcoin, while I'm recording this on Sunday, is at about $90,000, right? Which is not so far from where it was about this time last year. We can go into what happened, but I think the essence of it is that Bitcoin is no longer behaving or going to behave like it did, in its very early days from 2009. And I'll say until 2021. Why? What's changed? Well, what's changed is the audience. The audience for crypto was primarily purely hardcore speculative. To call them investors would be, untrue. They were, price speculators. And it was, a get rich quick now type of investments. And that's who it drew. And in 2024, and then actually even prior to 2024, there began the beginnings of what's called the institutional market. In other words, more mature investors with much, much larger amounts of money that started to enter the market to accumulate Bitcoin and now Ethereum. And generally, I'll say, to a smaller extent, crypto, in general. And those folks have changed the market for Bitcoin. It is now not a speculator's market. It is a market that is very much about institutional accumulation. And institutions generally will not buy into a pump of 900%, at least not with a lot of money. They might throw, $1 million or $2 million at it, but they're not going to throw, a few $100 billion after some enormous 300, 400, 500% pump, right? So the nature of crypto and who it's for and who's buying has changed. And importantly, who's selling also. In other words, there is this transition going on between the pure speculator, which has largely been the market from 2009 to 2021. They are selling or have sold, and many of them have made enormous, ginormous profits. And they're like 100K, 110K, even 90K, even 80K, huge money. My costs are 1, they're 10, they're 100, they're 1,000. As they say, you only need to get rich once, right? These folks have gotten rich, and they have been absolutely selling in 2025, which has been good and bad. It's good in the sense that everyone now knows that crypto is this, or Bitcoin at least, is this enormous liquidity pool. You can sell billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin, billions, right? The idea, you could not do that in 2021. If you try to do that, you would absolutely crash the market. But today you can do that with no problem. The Bitcoin ETFs will buy it. The Bitcoin treasury companies like Strategy and many others will buy it. And in 2026, 2027, 2028, we're going to see new players emerge that are all major institutions. I mean, there are going to be countries, there are going to be more companies that do this. The wealth management companies will start to allocate 1, 2, 3, maybe 5% to Bitcoin. So you've got institutions that are starting to come in, but it does mean that crypto's days of being a lottery ticket are most likely over. I mean, you can never say. Maybe there's a year or two where, I don't know, we have those, old school gains. But my best guess is that it starts to act pretty much like all other financial assets, which is there are ups, there are downs, and they're driven very much by investor behavior and market psychology, right? And so if you look at it this way, 2025 is a year and a story of dashed expectations. Huge expectations generally drive huge bets, right? So most people that follow crypto were sure, I'll put myself in this category. Listen, we're going to have this enormous rally in 2025. It's going to be huge. Even if we don't get to 100,000, we'll get to 250. We'll get to 300. So what does that do when you have high confidence for a big price one? Well, people bet, right? So people bought options, people bought futures, people bought leveraged bets of various kinds. They obviously bought Bitcoin itself. They bought enormous amounts of strategy. They bought others. And then, I'll say, when Bitcoin cracked in November, that was, many people undoing their bets, trying to get whatever they could out of their bets, which is when we saw that 40% drop. And then even more recently, we've seen, another, drop where, I don't know, it gets back to 90, 94 and boom, back to like what, 80, 82. So this is all the washing out of all those high expectations that were there for 2025, right? And now the slate and palette is clear. In the way that I look at markets, and I look at markets primarily from the perspective of investor behavior and market psychology, this is good. Low expectations are good. Why? Well, low expectations mean that as price moves higher, all that latent incipient demand has to come in and buy. I mean, in other words, in late 2024 and at the beginning of 2025, most people were in, right? And now people are out, right? But in the meantime, there is still lots of institutional demand that is still brewing, still bubbling, looking to get in. And that will continue in 2026. And that, I believe, is going to cause a rebound. Now, will we get to $1 million in 2026? No. Is it likely that we could see a 50% jump, a 75% jump, a 100% jump from where we are today? I think the chances are pretty good. And in that scenario, what do you want to own? What do you want to own? Well, I will tell you one stock and one crypto token. Okay, no prizes for for this being either unusual, different, or particularly unique. The first pair, if you will, I will say, of a stock and a related crypto is going to be Bitcoin and Strategy. It's no longer called MicroStrategy. It trades under the same symbol, MSTR, but they just call themselves Strategy. So this is a chart of Strategy. I'm going to disappear myself so we can see. This is a chart of Strategy starting 2020, right? And they announced their Bitcoin Treasury strategy sometime in 2020, and we put Strategy into the ATG Digital portfolio right about here. And then into the Bitcoin rally of 2021, you can see, it gets to 131 or so. Bitcoin gets to what, about 69,000, just a little bit under 70. And then we have, whatever you want to call it, crash, bear market in both Bitcoin and Strategy. The bottom comes out about the same time for both. So the audience for both is similar, not quite the same, right? I mean, there is a small difference between the the folks that buy strategy and the folks that buy Bitcoin. The folks that buy strategy, for whatever reason, don't have access or can't own Bitcoin directly. You might be thinking, why is that? Well, it could be restrictions on their investment account. It may be that their investment policy guidelines say you can't own crypto or crypto ETFs, but you can own a stock of any kind. So those folks are restricted, and that is the audience, if you will, for strategy. And in this chart, strategy is in blue and Bitcoin is in orange. And you can see that there is a pretty close match. You can see in 23 and 24, Bitcoin kind of led. And then there was a brief period at the end of 2025 when strategy led. And then strategy got incredibly hyped, incredibly overbought. So the investor behavior market psychology way of looking at things is that, yeah, there's too many people on one side, right? I mean, and they all have bought. And because they all have bought, they have very high expectations. And unless there are more people that come with even higher expectations to buy, now, into any selling, you will see weakness. And that's exactly what we have seen through 2025. Excuse me. As Bitcoin even flattened out, strategy has given up, price. Why? Well, it traded for a significant premium to the amount of Bitcoin that it held. I believe right here, right when it was at 500 or so, it was trading for between 2 and 3 times. And if that had continued, obviously, it would have been big gains. But at 2 and 3 times, a number of hedge funds came and said, that doesn't make any sense. They started to short it. And as they went to short it, there weren't people that were willing to take the other side and be like, you're shorting it, we're buying it, we're going to bid it higher. And so it started to tumble and fall. It did. And now it's back essentially to where it was in September, October of 2024. So it has given up pretty much all of its premium. It actually now trades at a small discount to the amount of Bitcoin that it holds. So it's gone from trading for 2 or 3 times the amount of Bitcoin that it holds to trading at a small discount. Now, the reason to bet on strategy is that now, people are all on the other side, right? I mean, previously, everybody was in with very high expectations. Now most people are out, and also expectations are kind of gone, right? I mean, people have sold. You don't get something going from 540 to, where is it now, about 160, unless people have sold. So now as demand comes in, right, the folks who bought at 160, they're like, well, listen, it's not trading at any kind of premium. This will add, I think a good bet is that it trades with Bitcoin. And maybe during a period where, Bitcoin is moving very fast and up quickly, maybe it trades at a premium again. Maybe it never gets to 3 times, but maybe it gets to 1.5 times. And so they will sit on that bet, which means that it is, again, on the bullish side of the boat, if you will. In other words, people are out, expectations are low, and as money comes in to buy, let's say, there's a price recovery in Bitcoin to, 100 and then 110, 120, which I expect. I expect Bitcoin to hit new highs in 2026. I don't think it's going to get to 1 million, but we could see again a 50, 70, 80% jump from where we are today. So 160, 170, 200, I'll say upside of 250. In that scenario, obviously Bitcoin goes up from 90 to wherever it is. That's a 50% gain. But in that scenario, you would see a much greater gain in strategy, in the sense that more than likely people will want to come and own exposure to Bitcoin, and the same people that don't have the ability to buy Bitcoin will be like, well, or the Bitcoin ETF will be like, well, I'm going to buy the most liquid and large player that owns the largest amount of Bitcoin, and that is MicroStrategy. So that's my first crypto pair, if you will, a crypto token coin, which is Bitcoin, and Strategy. And let's just look at where Strategy is. Okay, it's at $178, $51 billion market capitalization. And it's got about that. I think they have 650,000 Bitcoin. So they got somewhere in the range of their market capitalization. So you will get, I believe, in 2026, let's say you get 1-for-1 movement with Bitcoin. So it goes up 30%. You should get that. But if Bitcoin does have a period where there's a big run, right? 130 to 150, 160, it happens. There's excitement. The people come in, and you want exposure and you want the potential for something that can go up more than Bitcoin, right? Remember, MicroStrategy right now is trading at a discount, but it's traded at a premium. There is the chance that it can trade at a premium again. So in that scenario, just like in 2024, my strategy could do better than Bitcoin. All right. So that is picks 1 and 2, if you will, for 2026, Bitcoin and Strategy, which give you slightly different takes, views, exposures to Bitcoin. All right, next one. Okay, this is similar as well, but newer. There is a company called Bitmine Immersion Technologies. It is promoted, if you will, by Tom Lee, who is a major influencer in finance. I mean, if you are watching CNBC, you're on social media, you'll see him. He is ubiquitous everywhere. So he is promoting Bitmine Immersion Technologies, and they are doing with Ethereum what Strategy did with Bitcoin. Strategy is the biggest Bitcoin treasury company, and Bitmine Immersion Technologies, the ticker symbol is BMNR. In July of you'll see here, I'm just going to take myself off screen so you can see this in full. You'll see that here, when there is a big move, the purple is Ethereum itself. The black is Bitmine. You'll see when they announced their Ethereum treasury strategy. What's treasury strategy? I mean, they're going to make their company about just essentially owning Ethereum. In other words, making themselves a proxy or a substitute for Ethereum. Why, do this? Well, because they've looked at strategy and they're like, oh, well, strategy's made a business essentially out of owning Bitcoin. And people who can't own Bitcoin directly, can't own the Bitcoin ETF directly, they want some way to expose themselves to Bitcoin, they own Strategy. Hey, there's also an audience for this, which is probably slightly smaller, but there's an audience for the same exact way of doing things for Ethereum. And so thus far, I think, let's see here. We can see that, let's see. So they started their treasury strategy on June 30th. And they have 3.7 million Ethereum, which is valued, I think I got about 12 point something billion dollars. So this is where we are. We are sort of in the very early stage of the Ethereum accumulation through treasury companies. Just like Strategy, most likely only one company will dominate the Ethereum strategy, the treasury. Just like, the word strategy keeps coming up. So Strategy dominates Bitcoin, and BMNR, in my judgment, in my opinion, will dominate Ethereum. People who can't buy Ethereum, can't buy the Ethereum ETF, but want exposure to Ethereum will buy BMNR. And just like strategy and Bitcoin, it can trade at a discount, it can trade at a premium, right? So there are people going to be attracted to that as well. They're like, well, I could do better in BMNR than I might do in Ethereum. And so that will drive betting here. So right now, if we look at it, it says that BMNR is trading at a 7 to 10% premium to the Ethereum that it owns. All right. So same scenario as Bitcoin and strategy, except with Ethereum and BMNR. This is the ticker symbol BMNR. Bitmine Immersion Technologies, market capitalization of 13 billion. Remember, strategy is 52 billion. So much smaller, much newer. My best guess is that most people don't know about this company. I think this is still quite under the radar for most people, which means that in a crypto run, Bitcoin's moving higher, Ethereum's moving higher, Ethereum's making all-time highs, which I believe is likely, it will pair up with Bitcoin and do that. In that scenario, BMNR, which let's look at what it's done. All right, so this is a 1-year chart of BMNR, and you'll see that they announced the treasury strategy to buy Ethereum right here. Huge move up. Then, of course, all those folks that buy in excitement, they repent at leisure. That's the saying from Wall Street. And then it's here. Nonetheless, imagine, that let's go back one more chart. And let's make this a longer chart here. So that's a chart that's beginning at the end of 2019. So imagine that, Ethereum goes back to where it's been in the past and then goes on to make new highs. The last high is it was in August of 2025. So let's say it goes past 5,000, goes to 7,000, goes somewhere near $10,000. What will happen with BMNR? My view is that BMNR rockets higher. There's excitement. It's a new crypto stock play that most people don't own. So there's a good chance that it trades for some crazy multiple of its Ethereum holdings, maybe 3 times, maybe 4 times, maybe 5 times. Again, not guaranteed, but that is the nature of speculation. You're not guaranteed to make money. You put yourself in a position where if the things work out your way, you have the chance of making big money. That was the scenario when MicroStrategy, then Strategy today first, bet on Bitcoin, and this could happen. And the company that is most likely to benefit is this company, which is BMNR. The last one in crypto is that one of the big wins, despite all the volatility in 2025, is the solid emergence of stable coins. What is a stable coin? A stable coin is essentially a digital version of a current fiat currency, in particular the dollar. Now, despite what everybody writes about and talks about, the dollar continues to be the dominant global currency. I was recently traveling in Asia, and I can tell you that dollars, you can literally spend your dollars at stores in most parts of Asia. They will convert it readily for you. In many cases, they will give you a great rate because the black market rate for dollars is actually better than the official rate, right? So a digital dollar simply allows you to move dollars on the blockchain. You, of course, get the speed versus going through the banking system where, it's a wire and it moves. To go international, it might take 2 or 3 days. With a stable coin denominated in dollars, You send it, it's there within a few minutes. You go on the blockchain, it's recorded, it's known, and most importantly, it's cheap. Right? It'll cost you maybe, you could do very large transfers for very small amounts of money relative to all of the fees and transaction costs associated with, a wire transfer from, a US bank to some middle intermediary bank, and then it goes to, some other bank on the international side, and then they charge you some foreign exchange rate. Here you just transmit dollars, right? Because the person on the other side, once they get it in local currency, they're going to change it back to dollars, because most people don't feel comfortable leaving their money in, I don't know, whatever the currencies are in, in Asia. I mean, in Europe, okay, people are happy to own euros, but in most parts of Asia, South America, they would much prefer to keep all of their cash holdings in dollars. So a digital dollar, which has now become quite common. I mean, if you travel, you will see in many places it'll say Tether accepted. Tether is the most widely used stable coin out there. It goes, it trades for $1, and you can use it to send, cash in dollars to pretty much anyone around the world, and it happens fast. It happens very cheaply. All right, so and then you don't have to worry, about like, well, hey, I sent you the money, and somebody's like, well, we haven't received it. Instead, you can watch it, go through on the blockchain, and it's done fast. So this is becoming a very, very large, big part of crypto, and is taking market share in finance from wire transfers and Western Union, and all of those things that have much higher fees, way more time, and there's no tracking like you can on the blockchain. So the last pair, if you will, are two investments that benefit from the stable coin. Yeah, is it too much to call it a revolution? Well, maybe it's not yet a revolution, but it is the beginnings of a revolution that will, in time, upend various very large markets: the foreign exchange market, the money transfer business, and long term, probably upend most minor currencies, where people will be like, well, I don't really want to own, I don't know, the Malaysian ringgit or something like that. Why should I, when I can just, hold my money in dollars, which is a better long-term bet. So here we've got the last pair, right? We had strategy and Bitcoin. We had Ethereum and BMNR, which is the Bitmine immersion. And the last pair is associated with stable coins. So we've got a stock, which is the Circle Internet Group. The ticker symbol is CRCL. And then we've got a crypto, which is quite small, which I've talked about before. It's called Curve, CURV. The crypto symbol, please don't go buy Curve on the stock market, right? Curve is a crypto token, right? This is a exchange where people trade the three major stable coins against each other. Now you might be wondering, well, Paul, if a stable coin is worth $1, why would anybody need to trade it? The thing is there are three very large stable coins that pretty much dominate trading. Now, there are many small ones, but the vast majority of trading or transfers happens in three. They are Tether, which has the crypto symbol of USDT. That is what dominates, let's say, international stablecoin trading. So you go to South America, you go to Asia. People will say, well, I take Tether. So it trades, I don't know, billions and billions of dollars every day. So you can buy and sell Tether in the billions, and people do. However, in the United States, where we have more regulations, we have more restrictions, in 2025, we had a company go public that controls the dominant stablecoin for the United States. Why does the US have its own particular stablecoin? Because people here in the United States, we have to follow, an extraordinary amount of laws, regulations, and if you do things with money without following all of that, the penalties are very significant. So people are not willing to use USDT, which is Tether, which is not regulated, doesn't really conform to US regulations, etc. They're not really willing to use it because they're afraid that whether it be the IRS, whether it be the Department of Justice, maybe the Treasury Department will be like, you violated some law, you violated some rule. And so people are afraid to use it. So the United States has its own stable coin, which is USD, but C. And the C is associated with Circle. And USDC has been building itself where there's now significant transaction volume. It is significantly smaller than USDT, but nonetheless, it is there. It is beginning to be used. It is beginning to be recognized by the major banks, JP Morgan and others. In other words, over the next few years, you'll be able to move USDC from one bank to another. And that would benefit Circle Internet. Now, the folks who run USDT, right, that is Tether, they are one of the most profitable companies on the planet, right? No one knows exactly what it is because they are private, but they have periodically given little look-ins to their profitability. And with a team of, I don't know, maybe a couple of hundred people, they are generating profits of 30, 40 billion dollars. In other words, the stablecoin business is a very, very, very good business to be in. The costs are fixed. People leave their money there. They don't really get any return for it. And you get to take that money and you buy treasuries with it and you get 3 or 4%, so you get to keep all of that. You don't have to pay anybody. So extraordinarily profitable. And Circle Internet sits in the position to become the US-based version of USDT, where over time, hundreds of billions of dollars and over time, trillions of dollars will sit in USDC, and they will benefit from, what might be one of the greatest sort of like businesses in hindsight, right? So those are, that is the stock associated with stable coins that I tell you has a very good chance in 2026 of where people looking at the business, because it's just come IPO. Let's see here. Circle came IPO. And by came IPO, I mean that it was trading for the first time. Yeah, Circle is in green. So it started to trade in June. And there was huge enthusiasm at the beginning, but like many IPOs, it's since then, as the insiders have sold out, which is very typical. They've been in, this for 10 years and they want to cash out. The new buyers will come in and be like, this is a great business, want to own it. And I believe in 2026, Circle could rebound and end up being, a very, very good stock to own. The second investment that is on this chart is Curve, which is the exchange where you trade one stable coin against another. The reason why you have to trade one stable coin for another is, let's say you're in Asia and you have USDT. And let's say you need to pay someone in the United States. Let's say it's a business transaction. And the person in the United States says, well, I'm happy to take a stable coin, but I can't take your USDT. So the person in Asia that has USDT will go to Curve, which is an exchange, and exchange their USDT which is, $1 to buy USDC, right? It's essentially dollars being exchanged for dollars, but since they are different and they operate under different regulatory environments and all of these things, you got to sell one to buy one. And the price is not going to be exactly $1 because, hey, Curve wants to be paid. The person providing the liquidity wants to be paid. So there is, whichever exchange can give the person selling the most amount of money, right? They will get their business. And in this business of trading stable coins for, stable coins, Curve is the place where people go to because they have organized themselves from the very beginning to be the exchange solely dedicated to the trading of stable coins. And I believe as the stable coin volume and value jumps in 2026 and beyond, and as people recognize that stable coins are becoming a fixed part of the financial system globally, people will naturally gravitate to, well, who benefits from this? And they will come to Circle, and I believe they will come to Curve. So those are the two stablecoin related bets that I believe have big prospects in 2026. So that's Circle Internet Group, CRCL, $85 stock price, $20 billion market cap. And then we also have Curve DAO. DAO is just, a word in crypto for company, essentially. 40 cents. The market capitalization of Curve is in the hundreds of millions of dollars. This is a tiny, tiny token, but they absolutely dominate, the business that they're in. And if we have a run in Bitcoin, which will, transmit itself into the crypto universe, people, especially institutional money, is not going to chase meme coins like Shiba Inu or something like that. They're going to be like, show me crypto platforms that actually have a business, that actually have prospects, that actually produce cash, that, you can actually go and look at their economics and financials and be like, yeah, you know what? They have a great business and they have 70% market share. I want that. So that's Curve DAO for you. Okay. So those are my, three crypto, which is Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Curve. Three stocks associated with crypto, which is Strategy, MSTR, Bitmine Immersion, and Circle Group, CRCL. Those are my, I guess you put it together, crypto and crypto related picks for 2026. If you are looking for more on any of these are all in our portfolios. Well, you go to htgdigital.media and you can find out more over there. With that, I'm going to say thank you for attending Investment Tuesday. This is Paul saying goodbye.